Joining us now is the governor of the United States Virgin Islands, Albert Bryan. Governor, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tuck, for having me. It's great to be on the show all the time to talk about what's going on in the Virgin Islands and what we expect to see for the upcoming season.
So, Governor, we reached freezing temperatures here this morning, and we will be for the next several months. I'll allow you to boast about your weather down there eventually, but I actually want to start on a different subject, which is the state of the government down in the Virgin Islands. Up here, much more in the 2010s was discussed about Puerto Rico's fiscal situation and the struggles that they had, and kind of overshadowed what was happening in the Virgin Islands in the late 2010s. Can you talk to us about where the territory was at the end of the 2010 decade and just where you see it's come over the course of the last several years?
Yeah, I think we were in a really bad place, much like Puerto Rico. Often when I go to the Senate, I have been trying to get a bill passed that would allow the Treasury to back all our bonds. I mean, it's one simple thing that they could do in order to shore up. But in 2010, we were facing an energy crisis. We couldn't go to the markets, mainly because we hadn't completed our audits. We kind of tapped out during the Great Recession, trying to just keep the government alive. As you know, 30% of our population, our workforce, works for the government, and probably another 15 to 20% of the total population is affected by that in terms of whether there's a spouse or a husband, there's kids on the support, insurance programs and whatnot. Also facing us in 2012, we had the shutdown of the Hess oil, or the Hovensa, as people commonly know it. It's the third largest refinery in the Western Hemisphere.
Wow.
So it really impacted us. We lost like 20% of our employment overnight. So when Puerto Rico was going through PDVSA, we had to really fight. I'm saying PDVSA, not PDVSA, on the takeover. We really had to fight not to be included in a lot of those bills.
Right.
That Puerto Rico still hasn't really gotten out of as yet, and doesn't seem to benefit Puerto Rico all that much. So since then, we've been, me coming to office in 2019, for sure was about solidifying our finances, making sure that the Virgin Islands was able to meet its bills, meet its payrolls, and also to expand. And then since that time, we've been doing incredibly well. I have to say, we had two major hurricanes, two Cat 5s back to back within a month in 2017. And that caused us a lot of distress, grief, but it also brought a lot of opportunity in terms of money. When we started doing the recovery from this hurricane was under Governor Mapp, it was about 8 billion that we thought we would recover in damages. We're up to 24 billion at this point in under major recovery here in the islands.
So talk to me about the most recent fiscal year. What was a success? What is still being worked on at the government level, and what is the state of the territories today?
Well, one of the things that really hampered us in the last year the last 4 years is we get a tax extender called the rum cover over. And it takes our 1050. So every proof gallon of rum we ship to the United States, we get back 1050 of the excise tax. There was a tax extender that had been extended multiple times that allowed us to get 1325. It carried the amount of the tax we got per proof gallon from 1050, sorry, to 1325. We had been trying to get this solidified for a long time. This year, under the Bipartisan Budget Act, the big, beautiful bill, we were successful in getting it solidified. So now forever, that 1350 is going to come back to the Virgin Islands. The big part about that is it solidified our pension system, which was arguably the worst in the country. We've now funded that pension system using that. So every single year we've been moving along. We've been making tremendous strides. That was a big one for this year. I think we also, during the last administration, we got our match for this 24 billion reduced from 10% to 2% under the Biden administration. So that was big for us as well. Coming into President Trump, the good news is the Virgin Islands is not affected by any of the Trump tariffs. So,
see, that surprised me. I mean, I would think by necessity the territories have to import a lot of stuff, but I guess the answer is that it's coming from either within the United States rather than importing a whole lot from overseas?
Yeah, so I mean, 90% of everything we get comes from the US mainland. We would never be able to sustain the amount of people on such a small island just
Of
for
course.
beginners. But then we have a large tourism economy that's on fire, and that all the liquor is imported and everything else, or to service those needs as well. So not being affected by these tariffs, I've been kind of like going all over the place saying, hey, you can import your stuff into the Virgin Islands. We have a free trade zone and not pay the Trump tariffs. And if you add 30% in value, then it becomes a US made product and it can go into the United States tariff free. So we've been getting a lot of calls about our free trade zone in St. Croix specifically, where we have a deep water port and the ability to extend tax benefits on top of that. So you get 100% reduction of your state taxes and 90% reduction of your federal income taxes. So it's kind of like no tariff, no tax. It's a super condition for charging our industrial sector, our light industry sector here in the island. So I'm doing a lot of work around that.
Governor,
Our hotel, go
on
ahead.
that subject, if you don't mind. So I'm sure the first very question is about those potential tax benefits and how it all works into the tariffs. I would imagine the second question has to be about infrastructure and what companies are used to versus what the Virgin Islands has been focusing on developing. What do you see as the biggest infrastructure accomplishments and future projects that need to be accomplished to continue to drive growth there?
So just to kind of picture what we're talking about here, our entire economy is about $4 billion.
Okay.
This year, we have already issued 6 billion in contracts. We already had 1 billion out, and by the end of the year, we would have issued 8 billion in contracts. That means new schools, new hospital, all new underground water, sewer, electric. We're putting in 2 new power plants. St. Croix, in this last year, the second solar farm we opened up, St. Croix peaks at 44 megawatts. We have 35 megawatts of solar. Pound for pound, we have the most solar per capita in the world. We're about to open 2 more plants, one in St. Thomas on the west end and one on the east end, which will also bolster the solar generating power of that island as well too. So my race is to get our power down, to put in contracts have now been let for most of St. Croix's underground water, sewer. St. Thomas is on the way as well. And we're getting essentially 2 new power plants in St. Thomas. Besides the solar that we've installed, we're putting in much more efficient generators, trying to drive down the cost of energy.
So, Governor,
Um,
obviously, tourism is always a big focus for the Virgin Islands. What else is at the top of your list for 2026 in terms of priorities?
So we this year we opened up the first hotel in 35 years. Hampton is right on the beautiful Waiko Dock in downtown St. Thomas, Charlotte Amalie. And we're working on a deal where ownership of the premier Frenchman's Reef, another hotel, will revert back to the Virgin Islands government, courtesy of our Hotel Development Act. So we've been finally started building and renovating our hotels because we have a law that says you can take the hotel room tax, which is at about 14%, and increase it by 7 points so that you can actually take the 21% room tax and rehab or build a new hotel. So we've been getting a lot of traffic from hoteliers using that in order to finance building all these new developments. So that is really there. And then for 2020, I leave office in January 27th. So my race now is getting a power plant and getting energy in the right place. That if we get our energy down to about 20 something cents in industrial power, I'm trying to be able to give it at 12 cents, coupled with the tariff break and the tax initiatives that we have. I really think we could put more fire in our economy. So that's what I'm really focused on.
Governor Albert Bryan of the United States Virgin Islands joined us today to talk about the state of the Virgin Islands, state of the economy there, and economic development. Governor, really appreciate you coming on as always, and looking forward to chatting with you again. And as we head into the last couple months of the year here.
Fantastic, and have a sunny Virgin Islands there. I hate that cold for you, but it's good for me. Come down soon.
Thank you, Governor.